Believe it or not, yes, there's another rumour about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I really don't know where these rumours come from, but it's interesting that they always seem to have at least some shred of truth in them. At least insofar as whatever it is has been discussed in one way or another, even if the underlying premise turns out to be debunked. But don't worry, this is not going to be a gossip video. If you want to watch what I'd prefer to call an opinion video on any such matters, you can find those at my sister channel, Black Belt Secrets, linked in the description below, and I will give you my personal thoughts there. I actually enjoy giving you my personal thoughts, and it's less legal and less formal. However, let's go to the point of this video, which is that the rumour is that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are considering whether to abandon any official surname, I'll explain why that's in inverted commas in a moment, and instead adopt and use the late Princess Diana's surname of Spencer in some sort of major rebrand of the couple in their attempt to rebuild their public profile. Now, starting with the absolute basics, any member of the royal family that bears a HRH title does not ordinarily need a surname and therefore does not ordinarily use a surname. On the occasions that they might need such a surname, then they will use Mountbatten Windsor. Interestingly, the Windsor portion of that surname only came about in 1917 under the reign of George V. The Mountbatten portion added by the late Queen to make it Mountbatten Windsor in 1952. But as I said, Prince Harry does not ordinarily use a surname. The last time I've read that he used it was in 2020, and instead now, even though he stepped back from royal duties, still just goes by Duke of Sussex. But what of the potential rumour, which may or may not be true, as to whether they are considering using Spencer as a surname in some sort of major rebrand? If you're interested, by the way, in the history of the royal family, I will put an official link in the description below, which you might find interesting. But this rumour throws up a few interesting legal questions, both about the royal family adopting or changing a surname and for, let's call us, ordinary citizens changing a surname. Now, so far as my research turns up, there is no official or specific law that would prevent a member of the royal family, such as Prince Harry, from adopting or changing a surname. Although, as I said, normally a member of the royal family wouldn't commonly use a surname and would simply be known by their title. As you remember, Prince Charles, as he then was just Prince Charles and not Charles Windsor or Charles Mountbatten Windsor, either of which would be technically correct. And obviously, King Charles is just King Charles. Prince William is Prince William, Prince Harry is Prince Harry, and now, of course, Duke of Sussex. But as I said, insofar as I can tell, a member of the royal family adopting or using a different surname would not be as simple as it would be for an ordinary citizen, but instead involves a fairly complex situation that involves conventions, traditions, and maybe even the king's consent from himself, which is far different from a normal citizen changing their surname, which, by the way, causes significant problems when people get married. And I say it causes significant problems for a number of different reasons. First of all, it can have an impact on a credit rating, because if you change your surname, then credit reference agencies will not be able to locate you as the person you are now in your new surname, and therefore decline you for credit cards and mortgages, which is a significant problem when people just get married and they have to ring up and tell them that they've changed their surname so then they can get approved on the mortgage, having access to their previous credit history. And as a totally shameless plug halfway through my editing, if you're interested in all the nuances of changing your name, erasing your identity online, disappearing essentially, I've done a reasonably in-depth video on how to legally disappear. You'll find that over on Black Belt Secrets, once again linked in the description below, because I really enjoy exploring these other areas with you. I want to explore finance with you, business management, personal development, growth, and of course my opinions on all these matters, because here on this channel I don't generally share my opinion. I usually just give you a balanced view, sometimes arguments for and against, which understandably some people confuse with me being set against one party or another. That's not the case. I just give you the facts and the circumstances as they are. Sometimes my take on the law, which may stand against one or the other, but that's not to be confused with liking or disliking somebody. But anyway, back to the video. It also has significant problems when couples then separate. But then, of course, any children have adopted their surname or double-barreled surname or whatever it might be, and one parent wishes that the child be known by their original surname. But of course, that has a legal complexity in itself. If a parent has parental responsibility, then their consent is required for a change of surname, unless, of course, you get the court's permission to change the surname, irrespective of the withholding of consent from the other parent. But this also throws up lots of arguments and disputes that come to court, because I've even quite literally seen a child's book having the surname crossed out by one parent and the other surname written in underneath, and that parent has told the school and everybody else that that child is to be referred to as that surname, as against the actual legal surname with which they were registered at birth. So this does cause significant problems, and courts, in my experience, have not taken that very well when one parent tries to erase the identity of the other parent in terms of removing their surname. And so obviously this causes significant disputes between separating couples. But how do you actually go about changing your surname? Well, you can do it by deed poll, which has a fee attached to it, which, as he Googles, as he types, change your name by deed poll on the government website costs you £42.44 to get an enrolled deed poll using this poll service. It is, however, possible to change your own surname without using deed poll and without paying a fee. For this, you'll need 2 witnesses, you'll need to sign your own deed poll, and they must be 18 years or over. Although important to understand that some organisations will not accept a deed poll if a witness lives at the same address or you haven't used the correct wording, and some just won't accept it at all. And as an interesting aside, it's a criminal offence if you're a registered offender and you don't tell the police that you've changed your name. However, this hit the news, and I think I even made a video about it, probably about a year ago, where the police lost track of a significant number of convicted offenders of a fairly serious offence who had simply changed their name, and then the police lost track of them because they didn't tell the police they changed their name, and the police had no way of tracking them down because they just changed their name and disappeared. So that was it, really. The question came up as to whether Prince Harry and Meghan Markle can adopt a surname. In theory, they probably could. In reality, it would certainly create quite the discussion and may even require consent, or may even spark a significant objection from the king himself. And as for everybody else, remember, if you want to change a child's name, you need consent of both parents or permission of the court, otherwise you're not allowed to do it. I suppose there's a few final points to round that off. If you have sole parental responsibility, then you don't need anyone else's consent. But just to be clear, if you have joint responsibility, and that includes a local authority, then you need permission of everyone with parental responsibility or the court's permission. And finally, if you're party to a child arrangements order, one thing that might often be included in there is a direction that neither parent is to allow the child or cause the child to be known by a different surname without permission of the court. This is often applied for by way of a prohibitive steps order, and so that's something that you must look out for as well, because breach of that order can have significant consequences. So as always, make sure you take formal legal advice if any of this affects you. Don't rely on this video or any others as a replacement for formal legal advice. They are just guidance and information, which is all they're intended to be. But hopefully I've given you something interesting today. So if I have, please hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you check out Black Belt Secrets in the description below, and I'll see you next time.